Hey guys, Inspector Gadget here. Second time recording this video. So I made a video about stinger transitions that you can make directly in OBS Studio, and then you can use the Scene as Transition plugin to make them work, to keep using them. But there's one transition that I didn't quite show you how I made it, mostly because it took 2 hours to figure it out. But today is the day. The first time I recorded this video, it was over an hour, so I'm gonna try to not over-explain everything. This is kind of an advanced OBS tutorial, I guess. I really believe this could be made pretty fast, so let's check it out. So this is the animation that we created in that other video. Logo comes in, dissolves, reveals a hole, logo-shaped hole, and then the background also dissolves. Pretty simple, but you know, we're doing pretty much motion graphics inside of OBS right now, so not that simple at the same time. I went on Twitter and asked you guys to post your logos if you wanted to be picked for this video. I asked for a transparent background, but I guess like the Twitter upload thing has an issue and it's basically filling out all of those backgrounds. So I only went with those that were actually transparent. For example, this one right now, I'm gonna show you what we created. If this is our just chatting scene and we want to go to the gameplay scene, for example, we can just switch, boom, logo comes in, and there you go. The animation is slightly different because you can basically change it whenever you want. The colors, you can also change them whenever you want. You basically have an active stinger transition that is customizable at any point while still live streaming, basically. That's the advantage of all this, because you might be wondering, oh, why not do it in After Effects? If I need to change the animation slightly, I don't need to go back and re-render it. All right, so enough blah, blah, blah. Let's go ahead and start. What you will need is a scene with a logo in the middle. This is gonna be our main alpha scene. So that's what we're gonna use to establish transparency in that hole, basically, on that second scene. Okay, call it scene alpha. And from there, you want to upload a logo. How do you put a logo in OBS? It's an image. So you go to image source, then you browse and you find your logo. Let's go with this one, which is from the Murray Love. I think that's how you pronounce it. And let's click OK. In order to center this, we're gonna make sure it's selected, press Ctrl D. Okay, that's it. We're done with the first scene. Now, second scene, we're gonna call it scene logo anim for animation. And we actually want the logo again. So let me go back to scene alpha real quick to copy it. Right click, copy, boom, right click, add. We're gonna do duplicate since we're gonna add the move transition to it. We don't want it to mess up or anything. That's good. Cool, one logo. Then we need 2 color sources for the background. We're gonna go color source. It doesn't have to be a color source. If you want an image as your background for your stinger transition, you can do that too. Back full as opposed to back hole, which is gonna have a hole in it. Pick a color you want. In case you want a color pick to stay on brand, you can turn it off, select color, pick screen color. Let's pick this one and drag that down. Click OK, bring it underneath it. We can turn it back on. I don't like the color. Ultimately, you can choose whatever color you want. I feel like this might, yes, this is a little bit better. All right, now duplicate this color source. I'm gonna copy, right click, duplicate, or just add another one if you want. We're gonna name this one back hole, not to confuse with black hole. And then we're gonna add a filter to it to make sure that the filter is visible. I'm gonna turn off the logo, and the filter is going to be a shader filter plugin filter. Okay, so you need the shader filter plugin installed to have access to that. I'm gonna right click on my back hole. That sounds wrong. I'm gonna turn off the back hole first. I'm gonna right click on my back hole, filters, add a new filter, user defined shader. Again, if you don't see this, that means you haven't installed the plugin right. Load shader text from file, browse, and we're gonna find dynamic mask. I'm gonna press D, dynamic mask. Okay, gonna scroll down and pick the right scene. What was the name of the scene that we created earlier? Scene alpha. Scene alpha right there. And then I'm gonna scroll down all the way to alpha channel, and I'm gonna lower the alpha input value. You see that? You see that? Boop. Pop the little, there's a little hole in there. Now you can close. Congrats, you have a heart. All right, so fun fact, that's all of the sources that you will need. We already established that we needed a filter that is the dynamic mask on the color source that has a hole. Now we're gonna start doing move transition stuff. And to do move transition stuff, you need to add the effect or the filter to your scene. So right click on your scene, go to filters. Yeah, we're gonna go in, add a bunch of them, and then we'll customize them to do what we want. So for this one, you need the move plugin installed. If you don't see move action, move source, move value, move video capture device, move transition over, if you don't see any of that, that means you haven't installed the plugin for OBS. It doesn't come with OBS. We're gonna pick move source. And I'm gonna name this logo 1. This is gonna be the initial position of the logo. I'm gonna duplicate it, and I'm gonna call this one logo 2, duplicate it, logo 3. That's all the movement the logo is going to do. Now we need color 1 and color 2. Duplicate, call this one color 1. Duplicate, call this one color 2. All right, so now a little explanation is kind of important. The way the move transition filter works is that from source you select the specific source you want to move. Under custom duration, you can select how long you want it to take to move there. Under transform, you can click get transform to basically record its current position. So you can move things around, click get transform to save their position. And then that will be the whole effect. If you turn it on, it will go to that position. Position is not the only thing that you can do. You can also do scale, crop, and rotation, but we're not going to use that today. Another thing that it does is that it can actually play with the visibility of your source, right? So those little eyes here where you can turn things on and off, the move plugin can also play around with that, which is to our advantage. And then finally, under actions, you can use simultaneous move, next move, to basically trigger other parts of your animation at the same time or right after this one filter. Okay, now that being said, logo 2 will be this position, because remember the animation, it shows up big and then it drops. That's gonna be the second position. So with logo 2 selected, I'm gonna make sure that my source is logo image 2. We can see it here, and I'm gonna scroll down and click get transform. Nice. If you wanna test to see if it actually recorded it, you can move it away, click on that, boom. All right. If you want to see a full tutorial just on the move plugin, you should watch my video on the move plugin. Now from there, what would logo 1 be? It will be that initial position. I'm going to make sure I select logo 2. And there's one little trick that I like to do just to make sure that everything goes smoothly and that I can replace the logo later is I click on the logo, I press Ctrl E, and on positional alignment, I go center. Okay, it's gonna put it out of whack, but that's fine because the center is the position that we want. So Control D at all times to make sure it's good. I'm gonna go back to logo 2 and you can see that's not right. That ain't right. Control D, select, Control D, go back and actually redo that. Cool, okay, now logo 1, my source is the logo. I'm going to drag this to make it quite big. And then I'm gonna press Control D to center it, a big heart. And now I can get transformed to record the position. So if I click on logo 2, boom, we have the animation we're looking for. Big, small, a big, a small. Now, since this is gonna be our first position, we kind of want it to be super fast, super quick. So I'm gonna set the custom duration to 10 milliseconds. So small, it takes its time, and then it just snaps there. Something that is also very, very important. We know that if I wanna start it from scratch, everything is gonna be turned off. Like nothing will be visible. So the first step of our animation should basically tell the layer to turn on, and you do that under visibility, and you can do show at the start of the movement. Cool. So let's say I'm here and I turn it off. Show at the start of movement will automatically turn it on, which is pretty cool. Now, we don't want it to just stay here. So the next move from this one should be logo 2, right? It should go bloop. It should do bloop. Let me scroll down. And under actions, in this case, next move will be logo 2. Super easy. So now if I click, it'll bloop and go back. Bloop, go back. Is that helping you? Is that a good way to help you memorize the things by making sound effects? Now it says stinger transitions. It starts with full transparency. So let me turn off those things. If I click, it goes down. What do I want to happen at logo 2? At the same time as logo 2, what should happen? I would probably want this to turn on, okay? To fill the scene in order to hide the cut behind it while you're switching from scene 1 to scene 2. So what we need is to control the back full source. That's when we do this in color 1. I'm gonna click back full. I'm gonna scroll down. And since it's not supposed to be on before this, in visibility, we're gonna put show during movement, which means it's going to turn on, do its little movement for 300 milliseconds, because that's the delay time, and then it will hide automatically. So, okay, boom, boom. Now, when do we want this to happen? Probably at logo 2. Boom, boom. Scroll down on logo 2 and say, hey, at the same time you're doing your little logo 2, how about you do color 1? So now if I click, we're gonna have that. Now it looks weird because there's no animation in. And the way you do animation in, we're gonna use OBS's integrated stuff. So I'm gonna right click on back full. I'm gonna go to show transition, and we're gonna go to Luma wipe. Under image here, I'm gonna use Sinus 9. It's one of my favorites, but you have all of those options, so you decide. If I preview transition, we get a glimpse at what it's gonna look like. Click OK. So now this is a show transition. Every time it shows up, that will be the transition that it uses, but it's still gonna cut to hide. So if I click, we can see the animation start, but it's not long enough. Color 1 is only 300 milliseconds. That's not long enough. So you can change that, make it a full second. And now we get to see kind of the full animation, maybe 1200. Not bad. Now, after color 1, what do we want to happen? We want this. We want back hole to show up, basically. So all we need to do is go to color 2, make sure that back hole is selected, scroll down. We want to also show during movement, that it stops after it's done. Go back to color 1, and now we can tell it, hey, the next move should be color 2. So now logo 1 triggers logo 2, logo 2 triggers color 1 triggers color 2. Don't worry about logo 3 for now. Don't worry about it. So if we click again, nice. There is a part where we want the logo to, eventually disappear. And that's probably going to be at logo 2, like right after logo 2. So we can click on logo 2 and tell it invisibility, not one word, just hide at the end of the movement. Once you're done doing your thing, you can go. You're free. And we will have an extremely mistimed one. And that's okay. Our big problem right now is that our logo doesn't have an out animation. Our color 2 doesn't have an in nor an out animation. And we just need to fix that by right clicking on the logo. I'm going to hide animation. I'm going to go Luma wipe. I'm going to go sinus 9 and click OK. Keep in mind that you have to set up the duration of those two. So if I right click hide animation, you'll see that at the bottom here, I'm going to have 800 milliseconds. And that's the time it's going to take to fade away. Okay, it is a little fast and I don't necessarily want that. So let's put it at 1200 milliseconds. 1500 milliseconds. Cool. All right, logo 3 finally is just the logo shrinking a little bit. So make sure that you select the source as the logo. I'm gonna turn it on here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scale it down just a little bit and then press Ctrl D. And then click Get Transform. For the duration, we want this to be a little long. So basically it's going to be disappearing because we told after logo 2, hey, start your fading out animation or whatever. So logo 3 is going to happen while it's fading out. Let's put a full second. Actually, let's put 2 seconds for this. We want it to be very, very slow. Cool. Now we just need a way to trigger logo 3. So let's go to logo 2, scroll all the way down, and then tell it next move, logo 3. All right, I turn this off. I like that hide transition so much. Click, boom. We're getting there. We are getting there. So we can see that the hole basically appears a little too abruptly. That's because the backfold doesn't have a hide animation. So let's right click, hide. And as you can see, it has none. Set up the milliseconds right now. I'm gonna make it kind of slow, 1500 milliseconds. We're gonna go Luma wipe. We're gonna keep it simple with sinus 9. Now if I click, we can see that there is a delay. Something is taking a little too long to disappear. And that's the back full, which should be color 1. So I did put 1200 milliseconds, not a good idea. Let's go 800, test it. It's very like trial and error. Let's go 500. We're definitely getting there. The color 2 is happening way too fast. And I think color 2 is what needs to have 1200. Since it's the whole, basically, how long it's going to take for the whole thing to disappear. The whole thing. Click logo 1. You see that? You see that? We're getting somewhere. If you really, really want to make the distinction between those two color sources, you can change the color while you're editing it. Okay. So let me go with something not too harsh and you'll see what it does. It just needs to cut into each other. So we can see there's an overlap. Clearly there's a big overlap. And I think I know why. That little jittery effect, it's because it's starting its show transition and then its hide transition takes over because it's supposed to hide after a while. So 500 milliseconds. And then I think show transition is probably more. Yep. So 500 milliseconds, that should fix it. Okay. Now we just want the hole to last a little longer so it doesn't overlap that much. So color 2, this one should be 1500 or 2 seconds. Now What? That was weird. So it definitely weighted it out. Does this not have a high transition? Did I forget? Man, we need a high transition for the back hole too. So it's the final transition, the final countdown. So we're gonna add a -9 again. Right click, make sure that you're cool with the time it's gonna take. I'm gonna put a second. And now, not bad. Okay, cool. So we just need to get this color on the other one. I can see that my logo 3 is taking a little too long. We don't get to see the logo shrink enough before it disappears completely. So I'm gonna lower the milliseconds, 1200. A little too fast, 1400. Also, the movement is not dramatic enough. So while I have logo 3 selected, I'm gonna scale down a bit more. Control D to center, get transform. Now we can try again. All right, I don't like the little pause it does, so definitely color 2 and the delay time. Keep in mind that the custom duration here for the move tool is basically, yeah, you're doing the movement. There's no movement here technically for the color sources. So it's basically how long you want me to be visible for. So you need to add that plus the time that it's going to take to fade out. So the back hole right now, right click, high transition, it takes a full second, and this takes a full second to play. So you have 2 full seconds here. I think I'm going to reduce this, and I'd rather my high transition spend more time. Yes, I'm satisfied with that. So the same way that we use the colors, right? The color 1 and color 2 for sources that didn't move at all, just for the visibility. You can do the same for sounds, right? All you have to do is say, hey, while this is triggered, show during movement, show it. And it will just show it like this, and OBS will play the sound, and it will turn it off, and it'll be ready for the next one. Alrighty, well, this is pretty much it, so. You can probably make it a little more complex by adding some blurs and stuff like that, but yeah. I like to add the extra look by adding a shader filter. There's so many that you can play around with. I just like the VHS or the just chromatic UV distortion one. Just lower it a little bit. Actually, no, the opposite. And you can also stack them. So you can add user-defined shader here, load shader from text, and go find another one to stack on top of it. If you want it to be blurry, box blur, for example, you can see that it's going to apply. And that's the beauty of this method, is the fact that you can truly customize it on the fly whenever you feel like it. If you ever change color schemes, for example, well, you will still be using your logo, but you can swap the logos. We should swap the logos. You want to swap the logos? Let's swap the logos. Wait, am I satisfied with this? No. What is Bloom doing? Ooh, I used Bloom, the Bloom shader, and it's glowing a little bit. I like that. Let me add the actual VHS one. I just can't get enough of it. I'm sorry. Nice. Okay, before I switch the logo, let me show you that if I'm in this scene, I would just have to go and you can click plus basically to add scene. That is, if you have the scene as transition plugin installed. Click scene. Scene 2 is the name of the thing, and then choose the scene that has the animation in it. So scene logo anim, choose the duration of the whole thing. Mine is probably, I don't know, technically 2 seconds, but probably 3 seconds. We will be able to test it. And then transition point is basically when does it switch from scene A to scene B. For us, it's actually pretty early. We're gonna have to play around with this to figure it out. Then audio, there's no audio. We can preview transition to see what it looks like. And we forgot the filter. Filter to trigger is logo 1. Since logo 1 is going to trigger the whole chain reaction, right? Preview. And I got it right on the first try. Okay. Put a transition point. Cool. All right. And then click OK. So now if I want to switch to my gameplay scene, all I have to do is click and my transition will show up. Just like that. Pretty cool, right? And this was all made in OBS. And again, the beauty of this is that you can go back to your scene logo anim and just change the colors, right? Let's say that I want background to be orange, right? Just change the color of both of those. Orange, boom, bam, bap, and it's gonna update. Click capture. Yellow background, yellow background. How would I go about changing the logo? You might be wondering. I'm gonna scroll down, go to Scene Alpha. This is where we put the logo the first time, right? I can double click, browse, pick another logo, click OK, click OK. You can see it's not centered. Control D to center. Nice. Back to the animation scene. Logo image 2, click browse, pick your new logo. And this one is centered. This is why we did the Control E and set positional alignment to center. So now technically everything should work. So if I go back to my main scene, we did it. We just changed the logo. It was that simple. It's two sources that I needed to browse if you did everything right. So congrats. Oh yeah, something else to understand is that the shader filter plugin can be applied to any source. So if I go to the background and I go to, actually I don't like the color. Let's go there. If I want to go there and click filters, shader filter plugin, boom, load shader from text file. And let's be ambitious. Embers effect, okay? I'm gonna play around with the Luma minimum. I like that. I'm gonna copy this, Control C here, bring it back to the second one. And you can see this one has the dynamic mask, but I can still add this one, right? So now when I switch scenes, it's so simple. It's so practical. And of course, like the VHS shader is affecting it. But if you want to turn that off, just right click on that scene, turn all of them off, go back. And you can make it super flat and super clean, just like that. All right, so this was kind of a complex one. I'm not gonna lie. This is OBS Studio. You're not supposed to do proper motion design in OBS Studio, but you have access to it. It's free. You've been using it. So it's cool to have a little bit of knowledge. I don't necessarily recommend you doing all that. I just wanna show you that it's possible. Fun fact, there is a way for you to export OBS videos with transparency in the background. So technically you could have this be a proper stinger transition that you can send to people, and then they can add it to their OBS without doing all of that. It will just be like a video file that has transparency. And yes, I made videos about that. Go watch my OBS tutorial, motion design, animation, OBS animation, check them out. And that's it. Hopefully you liked the video. That took a lot of effort, especially since I had to record it twice. And I will see you all next time. Go follow me on Twitch. Go out there, make me proud, get level,